Welcome back to Watch Youth News Network. I'm Sean Schrader, and we're talking today about a really important subject, which is the death penalty, and specifically what just happened in the trial of Nikolas Cruz, the Parkland shooter. What do you all think about that?
Honestly, I'm kind of upset he didn't get the death penalty, because I know the families of the victims wanted it so bad, and I'm for whatever the victims' families want. And I mean, the victims who got shot by him were blessed, made it out okay. What do you think, Jailynn?
I think that it's not shocking. I mean, not the trial itself, but the event that took place. And I wonder what we as a country could have done to, not have this occur. What could we have done? What preventative measures could have taken place?
Yeah.
Well, I know his defense attorneys talked about how he had fetal alcohol syndrome and that his mother was possibly abusive, and because of that, the systems failed him. So that was like their biggest defense to him was. But what people don't understand is a lot of people are angry. I mean, I won't say I'm too angry, but I'm a little upset that he wasn't given the death penalty. But they don't realize maybe 5-6 years ago, the U.S. Supreme Court changed it. Because in Florida, it used to be if 7 people say yes, 5 people say no, they're given the death penalty. But now it has to be unanimous, because they felt that if it wasn't unanimous, the judge was having more power than the actual jury. So a lot of people are upset saying, well, let's turn it back. What do you think? Should it be unanimous or majority?
I personally think it should be a majority. I think, again, the biggest thing here is you have to think about how can you give closure to the families. I mean, there are so many families for those that died, for the children that died, the students that died, but also the students that were injured, and just all of the students there, who were a part of what happened there. I mean, there's always going to be that ever-existing kind of trauma from that really traumatic event, like you said, where you shouldn't go to school and be worried about getting gunned down. You should be worried about what test you're going to take,
exactly,
or something like that. And I think that if there was that opportunity again to provide the death penalty to Nikolas Cruz, that would have definitely given the families some more closure and a better sense of at least the situation is not okay, but there is some kind of avenue to hold people accountable and hold them to justice.
Right, and didn't the defense that the system failed him.
Mm-hmm.
I come from a family of educators, and that's something that the system does need to work on, is that when there are obvious signs of a child needing help, then take those precautions to help them. So in a way and in a sense, I do feel that the system failed him.
Yeah,
for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Because there was like several incidences that occurred in his childhood where it's like, something isn't right.
Exactly.
And that's where mental health, mental illness needs to be taken seriously.
Yeah, so seriously.
Yes.
And we need to have people that are sitting in these school systems that are equipped to work with these children, to help them, to guide them. But that's not the case.
And I have a question for you. We talk about these systems. Could we say that these systems who failed Nikolas Cruz and us were complacent of what happened? Because like you said, I'm sure there were signs and they didn't do anything. Maybe they didn't want to. Maybe they're like, oh, it won't be anything serious. But because of these systems, I mean, 17 people died?
Yeah, I want to say it's complacency, because how can you not? When you sign up to work in the educational system, you sign up to raise up a generation of youth. And that encompasses mental health and taking it seriously, especially when that one life can impact another life and impact another life and impact another life. These are children that we're talking about.
Yeah, you're right. And again, it's one of those things, like you said, when you want to work in an environment where you're helping to lead the next generation, you have to be willing to say, okay, if somebody needs help, if somebody's displaying signs, maybe they need assistance, if with mental health, with things like that, it shouldn't be something that's just kind of brushed under the rug, said, oh well, they'll kind of figure it out later on. It should be something that's addressed, because if it's not addressed, then that's what leads to the harm and
the
stuff
devastation.
really the devastation.
Right.
Thank you. That really wasn't required at all. But that's just what's happened because of a result of people being complacent, people thinking that it's, you know, nothing to worry about when somebody's displaying some kinds of warning signs or, you know, red flags.
And people that are equipped should be at every level of education. Every level.
Every level, but how do we get those people in there? I think that's the biggest question, because when I was in high school, there was maybe 2 or 3 teachers who really cared about the students, were always there, and then there were some that was just there for a check. I mean, I had this middle school teacher, he was an aspiring singer. So he told us that. He said, I'm not really here to get to know y'all, I'm just here to get a check and that's it. So if there was warning signs in one of my classmates, he wouldn't have even cared. He wouldn't have even noticed. So how do we get those valuable teachers who care about students in our schools?
I think that it starts in the interview, like in the background, and like holding these, in the interview, I feel as though there should be these conversations had. How do you interact with a child that does X, Y, and Z? How do you handle it? What happens if a child comes in and they talk about killing dead animals?
Yes.
Like, these conversations need to be had. We're not, this generation is evolving and issues are occurring at a fast rate, because this is not new.
No.
This is not new at all, but it's happening at a rapid rate, exponentially, it seems as though.
Well, yeah, and I think another big thing that's got to change is there's such a big focus on everything being a numbers game all of the time. What's a student's GPA? You know, what's the SAT score, ACT score, especially at my high school? You know, that's always a big focus to make sure people are getting ready to go to college, and that's important. But at the same time, I think then you have teachers where that's the main focus. That's really it in the short term, as opposed to what's the long-term success of a student. How can we be involved in their success long-term? Like you said, I think that goes back to the interview, you know, to ask a prospective teacher, where do you see yourself being involved in a child's and a student's success, not maybe a year from now, but maybe 5, 10 years from now?
Exactly. And can I stir the pot real quick? Yeah. So Nikolas Cruz was a very extreme case, but back to the death penalty, do you think it should be majority in all cases, or if it's extreme like mass shooting? So what if someone kills one person? Should it be majority or should it be unanimous?
That's tough. That's really tough. I mean, just speaking again off of the Nikolas Cruz situation, I think it should have been a majority there, just because, again, of the kind of closure it would have provided to so many families.
So you think, depending on how much it's affected, like Nikolas Cruz has affected honestly thousands of people, because you have the school, the students, the teachers, their parents, their families, then it should be majority. But if one person kills just one person, maybe it could be unanimous. Just because it's horrible, but not to the extreme degree as Nikolas Cruz was.
I think that may be a way to measure it.
Yeah.
But then it goes into, well, why can't we have it be black and white?
Exactly.
There's depths to it. There's levels.
Yes. Well, and that's really a great place to end our discussion, but it does not have to end here. You can share your opinions by tagging us at Watch YN. Thanks for joining us.